everyone, just before we get into the video, I'd just like to take a moment to say thank you for getting me up to 50 subscribers. We leapfrogged there overnight. Pretty much, it's quite insane. Means a lot to me that you all enjoy my content, and yeah, just like thank you for getting me to 50 subs. The reaction video that I did done insanely well. It's like the view count was incredible. Likes was like 50 odd likes the last time I checked, so I'm glad to see you all enjoying my content, and I'll do my best to keep up. Anyways, let's get into the review. So here we are. So we are the review for Spyfall Part 1, the season premiere of Series 12, and it's about time. Yeah, back. Doctor Who's back, and it certainly is back in big fashion. I had high expectations for it, and it met those. Although I mean, it's, okay, so let's start off. So, like a general opinion. So at first, on my first watch, I adored this episode. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it got a bit slow during the middle when Yaz and Ryan were in Australia. But actually on rewatch, I didn't feel that at all. So it's a bit interesting, but it's better. But yeah, and on rewatch, yeah, it's still a very good story. It's gone down by half a rating since initial watch, but I think a lot of that was to do with the surprise of the cliffhanger, and everything related to that I will get on later because I've got a lot to talk about with that cliffhanger. So there's a fair chance it's going to be an incredibly long review, which you would already know. I don't know why I'm saying that as if you don't. So anyways, yeah, it's a very good story. I did enjoy it a lot. It's definitely Chibnall's best Doctor Who story, and possibly his best he's done in the Whoniverse, including his Torture stuff. Before this, it was the Series 2 cliffhanger to Torchwood, which I believe is called... I can't remember what it's called. I mean, I remember episode 12 and... Exit Wounds, that's it. Exit Wounds, which is a heartbreaking story. One day I'll probably post a reaction for that, because it makes me cry every time. Anyways, enough about Torture, back to this. Although we'll go, well, actually, while we're on Torture, I would just say it's nice. I think it's nice of them to reference Torchwood in this episode. They mention, it's like a brief mention by Stephen Fry, saying Unit and Torchwood are there to deal with the alien menaces, and the Doctor sort of, saying that it's over. And I don't know how that affects continuity, because I know there's Tortured audios going on, but I don't know how that's set. I hope it sticks to continuity, but I don't have any Tortured audio, so I have no idea. But I think it was a nice reference in Chibnall, and I think that's definitely something that lacks from Series 11. References to previous events. We barely got anything at all up until Kablam, where the Doctor mentioned, where they had Fez, and then mentioning about Agatha Christie and the Unicorn from David Tennant's era. And then obviously in the Battle around Scarf Kolos, you had a mention of the Slovene getting turned to an egg and driving the Earth across the universe. But those are just little minor references, but only in the second half of the series, so it's nice to see that there's actually proper references in this episode to previous events, which is good, because that's something that, because I noticed when I rewatched Series 11 that I clicked with Jodie a lot more than I did when I originally watched it. I don't know what's changed in my opinion of the show since I first watched it, but I clicked with Jodie a lot more. So some people aren't quite there yet. They're still waiting for that moment where they feel like she's the Doctor, and I'm still waiting for that moment too, because we haven't seen that many sides of her. And I mean, hopefully due to the cliffhanger we will get to that in episode 2. And I remember reading a couple articles before the series aired saying that episode 1 is going to be more of like a spy thriller, and just the epic story. And episode 2 is going to be a lot more serious and darker toned, which I'm certainly looking forward to, because we haven't really had a story like that under Chibnall's era. Probably the last time we had a story like that was actually Well Enough in Time. Alright, so I'm actually going to go into the story now, because I've just waffled on about stuff not even related to Spyfall that much. Okay, so let's start at the start. So the cold open was a great start for it. It's really good, really good opening. It sort of sets up the nature of the story, and it immediately gives it a scale. And this is something that I had an issue with in the Battle of Ranscott, of course. I'm not sure if I brought it up in my review. I might have, I don't know. But the fact that they just, when Tim Shaw was firing whatever on earth he was at Earth, they just showed that, the Earth being covered in this laser beam thingy, and that was it. It just didn't give it a scale. It didn't make it feel realistic. Like, it wasn't, you had to actually think of people panicking to actually make it feel real. Like, as far as we know, that could be a deserted Earth and no one cares at all. It just wasn't, I felt it wasn't really done very well. It didn't really have that much of an effect. But with this story immediately starting off in Moscow, aeroplane to Hong Kong and somewhere else, which I cannot remember. Sorry about that. I just watched the episode, so that's quite poor. I can't remember that. Just, it set up well, gave it some scale, and obviously it introduced the new villain, which I was very happy to see, because since I saw it in the trailer, I was very excited, because I think about this villain, it's the concept of it is very basic. It's just as a CGI, the shapeless and doesn't even seem like a solid form that can go through any objects, as we've seen, because it almost gone into the TARDIS. So the concept of it is very basic, but the execution by Chibnall is done very well, and it's why I've really liked the villain, because it's creepy, it's quite intimidating, just having this big glare facing you down, and then it just goes away and you have no idea what's happening, and then just like that, you're dead, your DNA's rewritten, and however on earth they do that, I have no idea. And I think that's quite a cool way for it to kill people. It, like, rewriting your DNA is, that's brutal. So I think the execution of the villains is done very well. And although I have a soft spot for Tim Shaw, I'm not sure why, I just like Tim Shaw a lot more than most people do. That is easily, he's the best villain Chibnall's had. Much better than the Pating. Oh god, don't remind me of that episode. Yeah, so obviously we had an intro. It was nice to see a cold open. I like what Chibnall's done with having certain episodes have a cold open and then not, because I thought that's the best way to do it. If the story requires a cold open, give it one. If it doesn't, don't have one. Because I felt Resolution could have been ways for Chibnall to start cold opens, but I'm glad he's introduced it now. Although I do expect Spyfall Part 2 just to start with the intro. I can't sit having a cold open. Maybe previously, but that's about it. So there was some. Re-listening to the intro theme, I wasn't going mental. There was like subtle changes made to the theme, and I think it works a lot better. I already liked it a lot. I think it's the best intro theme we've had since the Series 4 version of David Tennant's intro theme, but it just makes it that much better. So it's good. Okay, and then it gets on to reintroducing us to, introducing Ryan, Yaz and Graham into the episode, and I think certain people say this is what slows the episode down, this scene, but I think I think it's a necessary scene to have because we haven't really seen any of the characters in normal life, which I think I mentioned this in reaction. We just seen them with the Doctor travelling about fighting monsters and stuff. And that's about it. The only time I've really seen them in normal life was when they were first introduced to the show. So for Chibnall to do that, straight away is showing that they're not constantly with the Doctor, but showing that it's the Doctor's having an effect on their lives with Ryan and some odd lies to his mates to explain why he's not there. And Yaz, having people start latching onto it, finding it, being a bit curious, and Graham Graham's obviously, no, it's Graham. No, he can handle anything. But it was good to see them in normal life because it humanises them that bit more, and that's something that I felt lacked on series 11 because character development was there was sort of, for a series that was mainly character based, you didn't actually get much character development in that series as much. I don't know what am I saying. Sorry, as much character development in that series as you would have hoped. Which I think this, again, I'll get into a bit later, but this episode does really well. But on speaking about Graham, he was brilliant in this episode. I think I'll move to the companions now. While on the topic, I think Graham was brilliant in this episode. Well, not brilliant. He was the companion who didn't have much to do. But unlike Yaz in Series 11, you didn't really... I didn't find myself minding it that much. I'm not sure about other people, but because of the comedy he brings, and he's just a lovely guy, Graham. You gotta love him. So for me, it wasn't an issue, but when you do think about it, he didn't really have that much of a role in that episode. But he did have some really good scenes with Ryan. Like the laser shoe. So he just had some great quotes like, "Worst Uber ever." He didn't say about that, but yeah, you get the point. So with Ryan, I think this was definitely... Ryan was very good in this episode. He was quite funny, he had a bit to do, he had some really interesting scenes with Yaz. Like when she almost thought she'd die, she was traumatised after that. The conversation he had with her was quite interesting with what it could suggest, and some people have been saying that it might be a start of a relationship. I'm not sure. I'll certainly be keeping an eye on that prospect. In Yaz in this episode this is much better. This is sort of what we hoped from her in Series 11. Of course, there wasn't much, there wasn't many occasions where she really could show her police qualities, but this isn't the episode that really required that. I mean, it was a spy episode, but it's not really an episode where she can use her police authority or just show her capabilities as a police officer that much. But she was good in this episode. She had stuff to do. She had some good character development with how she reacted when she thought she died in that other I'm just going to call it a dimension, and I'll get onto that a bit later with my theorising what that place is. I do have a theory, as most people. Yeah, she was good in this episode. It was good to see that the issues from Series 11 seem to be getting resolved in Series 12. But of course, there are still 9 episodes left to go, so we'll just have to see. But it's certainly a promising start. Alright, so obviously getting back to the story now, the fam get picked up, and then they have the highway scene, which I think is brilliant. So really captivating in as intensity throughout it. The shooty sat nav driving backwards through a highway. The directing of it was very good. I'm not sure what I think of the directing compared to the directing we got in Series 11. I'm not sure whether I think it's better or worse. But I was speaking to someone about this yesterday. I would have liked to see Jamie Charles back, but on rewatch, I think I think Jamie Magnus-Stone is. I'm happy with him being the main director for the series, but I'm not sure if I prefer him to direct some series 11 or not. But we have to see how he does in these other episodes in the series before I judge that. But the Highway seems directed brilliantly, acted brilliantly, and if you've watched the behind the scenes video, you know that was an easy task for them. It's quite interesting how they sort of shot that. Then it gets to MI6, and we get the introduction of Stephen Fry's character. Now then, with Stephen Fry's character, you know, obviously he introduces the TARDIS team to the issue and reveals Howlow's villain, one of the villains of this episode, kills the three people from the beginning of the episode. He then goes and introduces them to all the, you know, spy stuff, and then gets killed. Now, I can see the reason for getting him killed, you know, just to up the threat level of these villains and show how relentless and ruthless they are. I'm assuming it is them who killed them, or maybe another shooty Satnav killed him, I don't know. But I would have liked to see more Stephen Fry, but it didn't bother me necessarily. I know a lot of people have been saying that, but it's not an issue for me. It's just, you know, I would like to see a lot more Stephen Fry in that, because from what we saw of him, he was very good in the role he played. But then to continue the fast-paced action of this story, like 3 of those the villain creatures sort of come out into the office and try and attack. I'm just gonna call them the fam. Why not? Trying to attack the fam, but then they retreat into the TARDIS, and then something which I've heard is quite controversial, and I knew however this was done, it was going to be controversial, but then the creature started breaking into the TARDIS. Now, I don't, as of yet, have an issue with this, but I feel like there needs to be more of an explanation than just that's their special ability, because the TARDIS has been known for most impenetrable place in the universe. The safest place you could possibly be is in the TARDIS, as long as it's got shielding. So with the creature obviously going against that, I feel like as long as Chibnall can provide a good and valid explanation for that, I have no issue with it, which is why at the moment it personally doesn't bug me, because I feel like there will be. But it's something that it definitely needs, you know, mentioning in the next episode or whenever they pop up next, because there's a fair chance that these villains are going to pop up through the series. I feel like that's definitely a possibility. So then we get to where the gang will split up to try and, you know, you have Yaz and Ryan interviewing Daniel Barton, trying to find out more about him, trying to, you know, see if he's actually human, which he turns out to not be. And he's only 93% human, and there's 7% non-human DNA, something. And I honestly think that will be the same with Yaz. Maybe not to the same extent. She might just be like 99% human. But I reckon Daniel Barton is like, you know, he was born human, but then those creatures took him to that other dimension, other world, whatever it is, and that somehow corrupted his DNA into being 7% non-human. And I believe that probably is the DNA of the wall-passing creatures. And I do believe that the same thing has happened to Yaz. And that might be a way how they might get out of that situation. Because if Yaz is 7% non-human and has got the same DNA as those creatures, which can just teleport to whatever they do, that might be how they get out of that plane, if she can teleport them out into either a different place on Earth or that dimension. That's my theory for how they get out of that plane crash, because I genuinely can't see any other way they're gonna survive it. If you got any theories, do let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, but while that's all happening, Dr. Graham are in Australia, and I felt that the scene where the two guards are, like walking around outside trying to figure out what's, bugging the lights because they were flickering and on and stuff. I thought like that was directed, and the music for it, and just every part of it was brilliant. It really made you like on the edge of your seat, uncertain of what's going to happen. You knew they were going to jump out of you, you just wasn't sure when. And those sort of scenes, when they're done well, they can be really unnerving. And in this case, it was done brilliantly. And I remember watching it, I was just completely captivated by that scene. And of course it ended with the creatures killing those two people in quite an odd way. They just sort of like clobbered them, and then just, from what we could tell, just was standing over them, I assume, changing their DNA. But it wasn't really clear how they did that. Which I hope we do. I hope we do learn. I don't feel like we need to learn everything about the creatures, because I think the mystery surrounding them is what makes them just that bit more intimidating and scarier. But I feel like we need to learn more about them, because there is still a lot of questions surrounding those creatures. Okay, so then before we get to all talking about where the episode goes fully James Bond, just like to theorise about what that place where Yaz and the Doctor ended up getting sent. If you look at it closely, the thing that surrounds them, it looks like just like pipes, like big plastic pipes. So I'm not really sure what that's about. That's I have no idea. It's a bit of an odd place, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out to be the Void. And if you don't know what that is, that's the place that sits in between universes. And as I said throughout the episode, when I was reacting to it, I do believe that they are from a different universe, and I still believe that. So I believe they travelled through this universe, through the Void, and somehow can access it with ease by just switching between like our universe and then the Void, and maybe their universe, just like that. So I'm not sure how Chibnall would make that work though, backstory and stuff. But if it is true, I'll just leave that to him. But that's what I think that place is. At a guess, I would say it's the Void. So now, once we leave Australia, when it's revealed there's like thousands of those creatures across the earth acting as alien spies, and that's why they're specifically killing spies. Which is, it's sure, it's fine as an explanation, but yeah. So then it's, we have certain reviews that I've listened to have said that this episode is very close to feeling just like a parody of James Bond, and I am inclined to agree with them. It didn't go. It was very close to being a bit too far. Like having a bit of music was like fun, but it was very close to being a step too far. But thankfully it didn't feel like too much of a reference to James Bond. But yeah, I mean, besides that though, the music, James Bond music mixed with the the 13th Doctor's theme was it's great, isn't it? You just gotta love it. And Jodie's costume is just, it's very her, and that's ironic considering it has callbacks to past Doctors, the coat redlining like Capaldi's, the bow tie like Matt Smith. And but you just gotta love that outfit, and I'm glad I'm seeing it for another episode at least. Hopefully more to come in the future. And to be honest, they all look great in their attires. And then we have the casino scene is, it's a good scene. It's like, fun, it's comedic, but then it gets a little bit more serious when the Doctor confronts Lenny Henry's character, Daniel Barton, that's his name. And it's a little bit funny that the Doctor just is supposed to be undercover, but then has no discreetness when she confronts Lenny Henry. But that scene was, it was a good scene between Lenny Henry and the Doctor. I thought it was, well written. And actually there was, then you could sort of rewatch it. I sort of noticed, when I watched it at first, when Lenny Henry when the Doctor said she's not so easy to get rid of, then Daniel Barton just gone, are you? I was just like, well, you just don't know the Doctor. You can't kid off that easily. And at the time I thought that's just going to be the cliffhanger, Daniel Barton almost killing the Doctor. Which it turned out to kind of be, but not. It wasn't really Daniel Barton's doing. But rewatching it, I feel like he said that knowing exactly who the Doctor is, but knowing that the Master was helping him. And it's just when I was seeing yesterday after I watched the episode, I was worried on a rewatch that I wouldn't see that many sort of hints of what's his name? Being the Master. But there were plenty throughout the episode. So there was obviously, not obviously, there was, you could notice he was very excited about the Doctor being there. You could tell that. And at the time you just thought, well, he's just a friend of the Doctor's, why not? Then that scene with Graham, when he's sort of saying, do you want to know a bit more about the Doctor? Possible attempt of trying to put Graham off the Doctor, perhaps. You never know how that scene might have ended up going. And then the technology used to stop the creatures entering the house as well was a bit too advanced, even for a former spy. Or MI6 member who apparently worked at the office. Anyway, but anyway, just, I'll put the Master for hold for a moment. So then we get to the bike scene. And this bike scene, I felt a little bit disappointed with. It was a fun to watch. It was, it looked good, but it just, you just can't help but feel Daniel Barton's shooting was a bit too poor, and the fact that it constantly was bouncing off, like, the bike was just a little bit, yeah. It was still a good scene, but I thought it'd be like as good as the car scene in the highway was. But it's just that was just a little bit of an issue I had when I was watching it. So then the Doctor then goes and chases Daniel Barton into the plane, and this is what I've been excited to talk about. It then soon gets revealed in the reveal of being the Master was done brilliantly, with him, just the Doctor saying, hang on, you're supposed to be a brilliant runner, what do you mean? Then him just going, oh, you got me there. Or just say, oh no, he actually just said got me, but you could just see the joy in his face that he could finally stop acting, because he's been there for many years, and he's been waiting for that moment. You could just see the joy in his face, and the turn, it felt as good as, if not better, than the immediate change in the episode Utopia back in 2007, when Professor Yana turned into the Master. It just gave me the same sort of chills I had when I was watching that, and it was just the acting by him, by the what's his name? But Sacha Dhawan's acting in that scene was uh, phenomenal. He handled it incredibly well. And at the time, I knew I recognised him from something, but I just couldn't place what it was. But I think he was in something else. But I know he played um, the director of An Unearthly Child in a couple of the early Doctor episodes called Boris Hussein. I think that's how you say it. He was good. He was brilliant in that as well. But it's just that entire scene. Like I can't wait to see how that master turns out being. But the issue for things that other people are worried about is, obviously in series 10 you had huge development for Missy's character, with her turning good, and I think Chibnall can handle this so easily to make that not even a problem by just stating that this is an early incarnation of the Master, maybe in between John Sim and Michelle Gomez, or even further back, like equivalent with the classic masters, like after Anthony Ainley, or before uh, before Derek Jacobi's master, something like that, and then it's just fine. That's it handled. If it is after Missy's, then yeah, there is a bit of an issue, because that's all the entirety of that character development just thrown in a bin, which wouldn't be great. But there's just everything in that scene was brilliant. The Doctor's reaction was brilliant. You could see how psychotic that he was, and how he was, so the giddiness he had as well, just how excitable he is and unpredictable. He had all the traits of the Master: unpredictability. He fitted into the role of the Master superbly well. And then it got even better, because it had like a brilliant callback, and I'm so happy that Chibnall did this, because they haven't actually seen this technique used by the Master since the 1981 episode, The Gopolis, with the tissue compression being used to murder his victim, which was actually how he killed his first on the screen victim, and in the episode Terror of the Autons. And it was just such a brilliant callback, and it just made him feel like the Master immediately. And then obviously, and of course after that, it's revealed that there's a bomb in the front of the plane, which is going to blow up the front of the plane, and it's going to try and suck all of them out. And then it's revealed that the creatures throughout the episode are working with the Master, and undoubtedly, of course, with Lenny Henry's character. So there's technically 3 villains in this episode. And then he takes the Doctor away into the other dimension, leaves Yaz, Ryan, Graham all on a crashing plane, and then cuts. And just, I think everyone's jaw is probably just sunk down to the core of the earth at that point. It was just such an incredible scene, and it's probably one of the best scenes of Doctor Who that I have seen in a long time. Probably, and the reveal in itself was probably the best reveal. Taking everything into consideration with it, without it being leaked, it was probably the best done since, I don't know, maybe like John Hurt, perhaps. I don't know. I'm not sure actually if John Hurt got leaked before, the role he had, but it was just that it was even more shocking. Well, maybe not. No. It might have been even more shocking than that. I don't know, but it was just incredible. Okay, so yes. Now getting onto something that I'm worried about. This isn't the episode. This doesn't have the episode in itself. It doesn't have any relevance. But most people have heard the rumour that no one liked the sound of at all, that Chibnall was going to say that the Doctor had incarnations before William Hartnell and was a woman. And I mean, I really don't believe that it is true, but there's a couple things that's hinted that, you know, sort of stepped in that sort of general direction. You know, Chibnall's said that he's going to be, this series is going to be diving into the Doctor's past a little bit more, and that could mean anything. That's like quite, you know, that could genuinely just mean anything, because the Doctor's past is so huge. Because she's like probably close to 3,000 now, to be honest. But then with the Master then saying that everything you think you know is a lie, again, that could mean anything, but it's just sitting there in the back of my head that is a possibility, that they could be talking about that. And it's something that I'm just a little bit worried about. I'm hoping that it means something completely different. Possibly relating to the Timeless Child. And I'm hoping that it is that, because that means that it's not going with that rumour. But if that rumour is true, I don't think that will be good at all. I think that it would possibly ruin the series. If that, I mean, Chibnall could handle it very well, but as far as I can see, no matter how well Chibnall handles it, it's not going to be a good move at all. But that's just my own personal opinion. I might end up being like 9 weeks time, or 10 weeks time even, reviewing the finale of this series, praising it. I don't know, but at the moment I'm just a little bit worried that that rumour could be true, and that's not something that I think could work. But yeah, again, as I said, it could mean anything, but it's just something I thought I'd bring up. So then now for my overall conclusion. So Spyfall Part 1 is easily Chibnall's best episode for Doctor Who, and it's his best episode in the Whoniverse as well. It's brilliantly written, lots of brilliant action scenes. It's a very quick paced story which works well, and has a phenomenal cliffhanger with one of the best scenes of Doctor Who. So overall, I'm going to rate it a 9 out of 10. Not quite the best ever out of Doctor Who opener for me, but definitely up there. So anyway, thank you for watching this review. Tomorrow will be a preview for Spyfall Part 2. So do stay tuned for that, and do like the video if you enjoyed it. Please do put in the comment section what you think of this episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Just let me know. I'm interested to see what you think. And if you want to see more of my content, please do subscribe. And apart from that, I shall see you later. Goodbye.